Hello everybody, and thank you for joining me for today's webinar where we're going to be looking at blended learning within English. I'm seeing a couple of familiar names. Thank you for coming back. And for those of you who are new, this might be your first webinar. Thank you for joining us today. My name's Haylie. I'm going to be taking you through today's webinar. So blended learning obviously combines online educational materials with the traditional classroom methods, writing, reading, drawing, numerical skills, things like that. But it does often look to each student for the control over place, path, pace and time. So what I'd like to do today is to use EducationCity and this webinar to show you how you can use project work for blended learning. Obviously, project work really useful for enabling students to work at their own pace and that using their own skills, and obviously showing you an insight into them as well, maybe writing about something that they enjoy, something they love to do, and gives teachers a really useful insight into those students as well. Now, as always, the account I'm going to be using is a made-up school, so do not worry if you see any names. No GDPR rules are being broken there. And it is also an English account, but I will point out the differences if you're joining me today from Scotland, Northern Ireland, Wales, or anywhere else outside the England area. Finally, just like to say, if you've got any questions as we're going along, please do hold on to them. And at the very end, I will give you our email address. We do love to hear from you, answering any of your questions or your feedback as well. So we'll get started, shall we? Looking at the tools for project work in English. Obviously, that might say literacy if you're from Scotland or somewhere else. Let's head over to EducationCity and we'll log in just there. And here we are at our homepage. Now, once again, I'm using the new homepage. If it takes you to the old one, do not worry. You can click on the ribbon just there and it will bring you to this page. Now, I have been told I tend to talk very quickly. I'm sorry about that. I do go into teacher mode a little bit and try and get as much out as possible. But you can have a look at any of our previous webinars using the video user guide on the right-hand side of the screen. And you can see all of our webinars are there, including this one. And you can also head over to YouTube where they will be as well. But this was really useful as well. If there's anything I talk to you about, such as the My City folders, you can type that word in and it will filter down for you and signpost how you can do those. So first of all, I'm going to head over to the subjects area. Because usually if we're talking about projects and investigations, I would talk about a think it. There it is just there, just because they're really useful for investigation and inquiry. You can see here already we've got some genres, writing book reviews, things like that, non-fiction titles, exploring feelings, lots of really useful tools for different genres as well. And so I think it might be where I would go. But actually today I thought I might focus on the learn screens instead, because they are so beneficial for the learning in terms of a slideshow. So I'm going to head over to the search content area and we're going to use this. Now, EducationCity has a number of cross-curricular tools. So although we don't have topical content for history or geography, we have so many tools for that cross-curricular learning in literacy and numeracy, or English and maths. And what better tool for today than maybe something on World War II, seeing as we've just celebrated VE Day. So let's type that in there. And you'll see now all of the multitude of resources that will appear. And we can scroll down there, absolutely loads. Now, obviously, we can filter down here, obviously tablet friendly. Come summer, we're hoping that we will be tablet friendly with everything. But we can have a look down there and we want something in English. Now, this bottom bit here may appear slightly different to you. Obviously, it might say early first and second for Scotland and have your P levels on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to head to the upper year groups. So that will be P7 and P6 just there. And at the bottom, we have our content types. And as I mentioned earlier, we're looking at a Learn screen. So many tools pop up. You can see here, information text just there. You've got instructions, persuasions, absolutely loads of tools. But I'm going to go over to the building a shelter. We open this Learn screen up. Really useful. You've got your objective just there. And the great thing is that we can pause, we can fast forward or rewind, or we can use the slide selector. So it's really beneficial for children who are sort of independent learning. And we can fast forward to the next one, looking at instruction texts. And we can see we've got the writing at the top here that we can have a read through. Or if you've got your volume on, it will read through it for you. So no difficulties there. If you have a child who maybe struggles with visual impairment, it can be read to you as well. We can head forwards here, all the way over, and then it talks to us about how to build an Anderson shelter, and it goes through each of those stages into what you will need, right into the different steps that you've got there, right through. I'm just using the slide selector at the bottom, and there you've got your labelled diagram, your conclusion, and then you've got a bit of a summary at the end there in terms of your success criteria, remembering the structure, language, and features for your target audience. Now, this alone probably wouldn't be enough to send out to students. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to head backwards, and we're going to pop this into a folder. So add to a My City. I'm going to use a homework folder, and I'm going to call this the Anderson Shelter Project. There it is just there, and create that folder. And there it is, just appeared. Now you do need to make sure that it is ticked just there, and then save, and it will go into that folder. As you can see there, you've got that quick summary. But what I'd like to do now is we are looking at instruction text. So I'm going to change where it says World War II into instruction. Again, I want those same filters. I want some English, and I'm going to scroll right down to the bottom as I still want Learn screens. We've got the Anderson Shelter one just there. But if we scroll down here, you will see you've got these Learn screens just here, ranging from year 3 to year 6, or P4 to P7. Now, the great thing is that these will cover different genres of writing, as sort of listed just there. And obviously, the progression is more difficult or more detailed the further up you go. So this one, if we look, this is a year 3 one, or P4. Have a look at instruction text, and it gives you that example that the children are aiming towards. But if we head up to the next step, just up here, you'll notice that it's exactly the same sort of layout here, but if I head into instruction text, it's slightly more detailed in terms of having that success criteria that the children are aiming towards. So we've got title, we've got step-by-step details, labelled diagrams, and so on and so forth, along with that example that we saw in the younger year groups. So this would be something that would be very beneficial for the students to have, because it's something that they can keep referring back to as a success criteria, so that they can create their own. So I'm now going to pop this one. There we go, add to My City, head into homework again, and there's that folder I created. I'm just going to click onto the plus just there and save. So I've now got those 2 tools in that folder. So let's head into the folder. Here we go, into the My City folder just there, and we can start adapting it. Now, I suppose a lot of you already know that accounts have been upgraded to include that 24-hour access for students as well as teachers. So do make the most of the homework function. You can see now I've got those 2 tools in there. I could lock them in an order, but I want this to be something that the children can keep referring back to. So I'm going to leave that open, so unsequenced, so that the children can keep going in, dipping into this one, going back to that one, and dipping back and forth as needed. At the top here, I'm going to change the little icon. This is sort of a project and investigation, so I'm going to change the colour as well. And that colour might be something that is relevant to that subject area. I know in my school we used to have orange books for maths and yellow books for English and so on and so forth. So feel free to use those colours if you need to. And the great thing is that we can then add a message. So we can say something like investigate Anderson shelters, and go on to say create your own modern day shelter, maybe. You see writing those in there, and maybe something like then write the instructions for this. So they're still coming back, although they're using their art, design, technology skills to create that shelter, maybe junk modelling, they're still coming back to that blended learning in English in terms of writing those instructions. There we go, you can pop those in there as you need. There we go, I'm just going to pop those in there. Oh, it helps if I can spell, really, doesn't it? There we go, that's better. There we are. And then you've got the process of allocating to students, popping in any preferences. Now, up here, this might be something that I set for a term. So I'd put maybe yes, but I'd schedule the time frame to be that term time. So it's something that they can continually work on alongside other work that I might set. And then you've got your tracking just there as well. Now, because this is maybe looking at materials, we could make this cross-curricular even further. And then let's head over to science, where we can look for materials as an example. So we can keep adding in and adding on to, there we go, science. And again, I want another learn screen because I want it to be something that they dip in and out of. I'm not assessing any of this in terms of what they're doing at the moment, but I'm going to assess later on when they've done their activity in terms of writing their instructions and maybe creating their own design for a modern day Anderson shelter, maybe with a little bit for their cat or their dog to go into. But you can see how you can adapt these ready for those students. So I'm just going to pop over to the upper key stage, and again, that area may be slightly different for whichever year group you're on. And there we go, just there's a useful everyday materials one that they can use to investigate what materials would be best for building their shelter. Maybe you could pop a couple of those tools in there as well. But you can see this is something that's now open for the children to dip into and out of as they need to. So this is how I would use blended learning in English through that project work. It does enable children to really be independent and show you their loves and their likes, their dislikes in terms of the project work. Now, we do have our blended learning in maths coming up, so make sure you look out for that. But if you can't make it, don't worry, because all of our webinars can be found on our YouTube page, as I mentioned earlier. And please do let us know if there's a webinar that you would like to see. We look forward to hearing from you and your feedback as well. That really does make us happy. So you can email us just here. Send over an email with your feedback, with your questions, or with any ideas for future webinars. And we look forward to hearing from you. So until next time, stay safe, take care, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye.